After dropping out of college, Renborg secured an accounting job at an American oil company in the burgeoning new petroleum industry. At the time, the U.S. was the world's largest oil producer and an aggressive exporter. Renborg's job in China involved tracking inventory of barrels of oil being sold and delivered to local Chinese distributors. Renborg started to learn Mandarin and lived with other company employees in luxury, where Chinese house servants called boys waited on them. Within his first year in China, Renborg was fired for trying to, quote, tell top management what they should do. However, he already had plans for an independent venture in China as an agent with an import-export company. Renborg also planned to marry a woman whom he'd met while in jewelry design school in New York. She came from a wealthy family in Boston. In 1917, while America was entering World War I, Renborg's fiancée sailed to China and they married. The horror of war engulfing the globe did not touch Renborg directly, but its geopolitical aftermath would eventually end his China venture. According to his biography, while working in imports-exports, Renborg was making keen observations about the health and diet of Chinese people. Less than a year into this new role as an independent agent for the import-export company, Renborg's wife became pregnant. The couple moved back to America, where Renborg was able to arrange a stateside position with the company, working on shipments out of Guadalajara, Mexico. There, he arranged exports of cow leather to China, where it was made into shoes. After the first trip to Mexico, while en route back to Boston, Renborg turned down an offer to work in Boston, where his wife's affluent family resided, and he abruptly quit the company. Instead, he decided to pursue work with another company in Beaumont, Texas, in the shipping industry. Due to the war, shipping resources were in short supply, which Renborg believed presented a unique profit opportunity. However, he soon learned the company was unorganized and failing. Nevertheless, Renborg managed to persuade his wife over strenuous objections to move to Beaumont. As the business moved toward total collapse, Renborg joined in yet another large-scale and historic event of the time. Along with millions of others, he contracted Spanish influenza. During this health crisis, Karl Renborg formulated a new career plan, another invention of sorts in its originality. Recalling the absence of milk in the Chinese diet, he thought he could improve China's national health by selling them canned, evaporated milk, which required no refrigeration. It would provide the country with nutrients that he believed the Chinese did not realize they were lacking in their diets, despite thousands of years of advanced culture. The plan led to successfully persuading the Carnation Milk Company to hire him as the first agent to establish exports of carnation milk to China. At 30 years old, Renborg planned to move back to China with his wife and infant. The Carnation Milk Company developed into a large international enterprise partly from value and utility, but also from the owner's wily marketing skills. Canned, evaporated milk could be stored indefinitely on store shelves at a time when many households did not have refrigerators or even ice boxes. Its decline in popularity followed rapidly as refrigerators became more common in households. But sales and marketing were also based on a contrived brand appeal. The company's name, Carnation, for example, seemed to conjure nature, freshness, and beauty in a product that was actually processed, boiled, and canned with added sugar. The health-inspiring name was taken not from nature, but from a brand of cigars. Carnation developed breeding and feeding processes for its cows that forced them to increase lactation. About a decade before Renborg joined the company, Carnation coined the term, quote, milk from contented cows. Soon, Carnation's milk cans were on store shelves coast to coast, and Carnation was just beginning its export business. Renborg's timing was excellent, but as he would soon discover after returning to China, and reminiscent of his revolutionary flooring, there was one big problem with the plan. Renborg gathered his wife and baby for his new mission to introduce cow's milk into the diet of the world's most populous nation. Though China has an ancient culture, he perceived that it had never discovered the nutritional importance of cow's milk. Upon arrival in Shanghai, Renborg observed, quote, a country where most people had never seen a cow, so many in real need, little children with bellies distended from starvation, women weak and pale from pregnancy, rickshaw pullers with scaly sores of pellagra. Renborg believed he would deliver the relief the Chinese did not realize they needed. Despite his previous experience in China and some familiarity with Mandarin, and despite his recognition that, quote, everywhere in China the interest in food was linked to the interest in nutrition, Renborg was forced to admit his plan to save China's health with canned milk had a major weakness. Millions of Chinese became ill from consuming milk due to a genetic disposition to lactose intolerance. His biography reports, quote, he was finding that many Chinese just didn't seem to like the taste of milk. It often made them sick, and it was expensive. It was beginning to seem like there was simply no way to create a mass market for milk in China. Thus ended the Carnation Milk Crusade and Renborg's income. With a second child on the way, Renborg took his family back to America yet again, where he sought new product lines and money for his latest planned venture. The anchor product he soon landed was toothpaste. He would offer Colgate toothpaste to China. If he couldn't save Chinese teeth with Carnation milk, maybe he could at least help keep them clean with Colgate toothpaste, his biography reports. For the capital to start his new independent distribution company, Renborg had just one investor from his wife's family, who provided about $35,000 in current dollars. With toothpaste as its main line, Renborg's distribution business thrived, dubbing him a tycoon. Yet referring to Renborg's future in the health food supplement field, the biography ominously notes that back in the U.S., the Federal Trade Commission posed a future threat and started reporting that an increased number of, quote, Americans are annually robbed of hundreds of millions of dollars through fraudulent medical advertisements. In China, there was a far greater danger to Renborg's agenda: violent resentment against foreign businesses. Chinese rioters and warlords wiped out one of his agencies. The attitude of the Chinese people changed dramatically from the days when Renborg first arrived and lived in luxury with Chinese boys waiting on him and his family. The new mood threatened tycoons, the export business model, and profit margins. Turmoil in China in the late 1920s led to a civil war, drove out Japanese occupation forces, expelled Western companies, and eventually led to today's unified China under a single political party. Unrecorded in history books, it also ended Carl Renborg's toothpaste business. The toothpaste debacle, preceded by a misguided plan to sell canned milk in China, and an interim shipping business folly, and ill-timed move to Beaumont, Texas, according to his biographer, led to the end of Renborg's marriage and separation from his children. But even the dissolution of his family and the encroaching chaos in China did not deter him. His wife returned to Boston with the children, but Renborg stayed on in China until total loss occurred, leaving him without the means even to get out. In 1927, destitute and with unpaid creditors and unaccounted inventory, Renborg was only able to get back to the U.S. on the generosity of others who provided his fare. California Vitamin Dreams. The next chapter of Renborg's odyssey remained true to course,